Hi everyone, welcome to our video about the Batley and Spen by-elections that are happening on the 1st of July. My name's Rebecca and I grew up in Batley and Spen, and last year I set up I Have a Voice to equip young people with the tools and confidence to engage with politics on the issues that matter to them and their communities, and to show people how they can engage with politics in a way that means that they can get their voices heard. And so today we're going to talk about the upcoming by-elections, because one of the most fundamental ways that you can get your voice heard is to vote. And we often hear from the young people that we work with that they feel like they don't know enough about the candidates standing in their area to feel like they can make an informed vote. So we're going to spend just a few minutes helping you get clued up. Usman, over to you.
Hi guys, my name's Usman. I'm Programs Manager at I Have a Voice, and I'm really interested in minority engagement with politics. Specifically, I'm focused on ethnic minority South Asian engagement with political systems, and I want to make sure that minority conversations and voices are being heard at the moment, because I feel like at the moment there's these voices are being sidelined, and I don't feel that they're at the forefront. And obviously, minorities come in all kind of shapes and sizes in different ways. So, Rebecca, it'd be really great to hear about your experiences and your family's experiences of being in the north of England and kind of how you found it.
Yeah, of course. So the Batley and Spen constituency has so much going for it. There's so many amazing green spaces. The Greenway is a favourite of mine. And I don't know about you, Usman, but during lockdown, having access to those green spaces has just been so important. And there are so many great schools in the area as well. I went to Wycliffe Mount, which is in Cleckheaton, and I remember that we had an extremely friendly rivalry with Hetman White Grammar, but played schools against lots of different schools in that area. And like elsewhere in West Yorkshire, we are really spoilt for choice when it comes to amazing restaurants. There are cuisines from all around the world, and that picks up on the point you were speaking about before around diversity, and it's definitely a multicultural constituency.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because obviously Cleckheaton, where you went to school to, which is obviously one of the many towns in the Spen Valley, it has very few residents from non-white kind of heritage backgrounds. But then you have areas like Batley, which has a very big, thriving kind of South Asian community. So, like for example, within areas like Batley, 1 in 10 are Pakistani like me. It's just interesting thinking about these areas and kind of like actually how diverse they really are.
Yeah, you're right. That's so true. Even though I lived in a multicultural constituency, the school that I went to in the area that I lived in was predominantly white. And thinking about diversity, I guess something that I saw more so, and I wouldn't have known how to articulate it this way when I was at school, but it's more around economic indicators. So Batley and Spen as a constituency has less social housing than other constituencies in the area. So you might think it's relatively well off, but when you look at child poverty rates, that's not the case. So in the Batley and Spen constituency, 1 in every 3 children actually lives in relative poverty. That's compared to 1 in 4 in the region and 1 in 5 in the UK. And what I found surprising about those stats when looking into them is that actually most of those children live in households where their parents are working, which I think pushes against the stereotypes of the types of people who find themselves in poverty. And what else I found really interesting is that in Batley and Spen, there's also a really sizable retired population. It's quite an old population compared with elsewhere in the region. And what I think from what both of us have said, it means that whoever's elected is going to have to grapple with a really diverse electorate who are going to have a diverse range of voices and priorities.
If you asked 16-year-old me, if I thought, an economic deprivation was a form of diversity, I probably wouldn't have acknowledged it. as much. And I think it's really growing up that, and through my education, that I've actually learned about the fact that all of these things, all of these factors, they interrelate. So like our gender, our sexuality, our our socioeconomic status, all these things are really, really important, and they make up the areas that we live in, not just ourselves as individuals, but the areas and communities that we make up as well, as you've just mentioned. And it really made me think about actually Jo Cox, who was the previous Labour MP for Batley Spen. And in her maiden speech in 2015, I really, really loved how she kind of referred to Batley Spen as being like a town of typically independent, no nonsense, proud Yorkshire people, which I thought was really, really interesting. And then she also said as well, she said that there is far more that kind of unites us than divides us as individuals as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's really important that all of these different perspectives have a voice in political decisions and policy decisions, because we'll all be impacted by those decisions. So to the matter at hand, Usman, can you tell us more about the upcoming election?
Yeah, of course. So this by-election is kind of happening because Tracy Brabin was obviously elected as the mayor of West Yorkshire in the May 2021 election. So at the moment, there's basically the MP's spot is kind of opening up, and that's why the election's kind of occurring.
Yeah, and can you just explain to us what a by-election is? And
That's often a question I get asked quite a bit, actually, because I think some of the jargon kind of sometimes can confuse people within politics as well. I, for one, definitely was not aware about by-elections and kind of what they meant until quite recently as well. But by-elections are basically elections that take place outside of the usual electoral cycle of a government kind of general election at hand. So elections in Batley and Spen generally have always been very hard fought. And the area, when you actually look into the statistics and the facts and the figures, they have swung between Conservative and Labour with very narrow margins. But it's actually quite interesting. So from the 1980 to 1997, it was originally a Conservative seat. And then from 1997, it then, so 17 years later, it then became under Labour. And then from 1997, it was then in 2015 that Jo Cox was then elected as the Member of Parliament for Batley and Spen. And unfortunately, tragically, she was murdered in 2016, which then opened up a by-election, which was in which Tracy Brabin then became elected. And then obviously Tracy Brabin has been in post for the last 5 years and has obviously now moved on, hence, triggering the by-election. But the kind of, in a nutshell, whoever wins is going to win by a very, in my opinion, a narrow kind of majority. And it's really crucial more now than ever that people get out and they make sure that they are voting and that really every single vote counts, because this is not a safe hold area. And I just wanted to quickly ask you as well, Rebecca, like if you could tell us more about who would be in the running for the election, and because people may be tuning in going like, I'm not sure who I can vote for and how it works and things like that. So it'd just be great to hear that.
like I said at the beginning, this was one of the main barriers that people told us there is to them getting out and voting, that they don't know enough about the candidates. And there are 16 candidates running in this election. So I'm not going to run you through all 16 now. I'm going to show you a really amazing tool that the Democracy Club have put together. If you just go to whocanIvotefor.co.uk and it will ask you for your postcode, and you type it in there. We've put in my parents' postcode where I've just spent the last few days enjoying the sunshine, and it will tell you what the upcoming elections are in your area, and you can see there that it has the upcoming election on the 1st of July. So if you click on that, it will take you to a list of all of the candidates. And as we scroll down this list, thinking about the conversation that Usman and I just had about diversity, you'll notice that every single candidate is white, and that 5 out of 16 candidates are female and the other 11 are male. For the next bit, feel free to pause as we go along so that you can do this with us. But if you scroll down and click on one of them, let's go to their profile. There's Corey Robinson. He's part of the Yorkshire Party. And here it will give you links so that you can find out more about them. And most candidates have their own websites, as Corey does. So let's click on his website and see what he really cares about, he and the Yorkshire Party. So we can see straight away that their main manifesto commitment is for Yorkshire to have its own parliament. They want that parliament to be able to tackle regional issues to do with health and care and education, but ultimately they want Yorkshire to have its own parliament. So at this point, I would get out my notepad and pen and create a little pros and cons of all of the different candidates based on what is a priority for me. If we go back to the list, who's next to him, we can see Andrew Smith from Rejoin UK Party. I don't think we need to click on him to see what his #1 policy is for his election. It is about rejoining the EU. So you can even look at people's titles to do a quick triage if you don't have time or the motivation to look at all 16 people. But you can pretty quickly build up a picture of all of the different candidates in the area, what they think, and whether they're likely to make decisions that are in line with your political preferences if they're elected into power. One of the things that's also on that list is the individual's email addresses. So if you're looking and you can't see what they think about your issue, email them, ask them. I think people are always worried about contacting politicians and I don't know if I'll say the right thing, I don't know what to say. Politicians just want to hear from you. They want to know what you think. They want you to elect them. So just get in touch with them, ask the question, however it is that you want to phrase that question so that you can decide who to vote for on the 1st of July.
And I just think it's really, really great because it's a one-stop shop for elections, candidates, comparing, and you can have a think about it. You can sit down and have a chat with your family about who they're going to vote for. You can speak to your friends. You can find out who they're going to be voting for and listening to. So yeah, but I just wanted to very quickly say that if anybody has any questions or comments on this video or the by-elections, just leave them in the comment section below and we'll do our best to get back to you. Or if you want to get in touch and access more of our elections resources, just head over to our website at ihaveavoice.org.uk.
Thank you.
Thank you.